Hi, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today, I have as my special guest, Marc Alexander. Welcome to the program.
It's an honor and pleasure to be here, my friend.
Yeah, and it's great to see you again. We've done a couple programs together covering different things, talking about two of your companies, and we also did one called 20 Questions with Marc Alexander.
Yes.
And we're going to continue with that today, but before we dive in, we want to catch everybody up on who you are and what you do. So you have two companies, and we've covered each one in different interviews with you. The first one is called Light Tuition. Why don't you tell me about that company? How did it get started? What do you do, and who do you serve?
Yeah, so in 2009, someone gifted me with an anonymous $16,000 to pay for my last year of college. With the one request I paid this gift for, that was a mustard seed of faith to get me to this journey. So my responsibility, my obligation to pay it forward was through Light Tuition. Light Tuition is still to date the only platform that allows students to raise money for education that's sent directly to their school without the burden of debt. And what we realized with this, education is just more than the four-year degree. So whether you're going for your master's, whether you're going for a trade school, or if you're doing K through 12, because what we realize, even some of these private schools are expensive. We are now that platform for any student, any parent or family anywhere to use to raise money. And that money is sent to the school, not the parent, not the student, because we want to make sure those amazing donors that supporting these amazing students know that their money is going directly to the cause. So that's Light Tuition, and we're now here, we're globally helping students around the world. It has been an amazing journey paying it forward.
And I love that business idea. It's so practical and down to earth, and again, all the money going directly to help students pay for their school experience,
Yes.
their learning experience. And then you have a second company that we covered in another program, and it's called Light Raise, R-A-I-S-E, Light Raise. And what is that company all about?
Yeah, so the thing we realized with Light Tuition, we was able to raise over $1,006,000 to help students. And we said, what would it be like if nonprofits had this tool to scale organizations? So our tagline is Light Raise, nonprofit fundraising made simple, because there's a full process to raising funds. So yes, once you get your first donation, you have to make sure the donor now gets their receipts. In addition to it, so much compliancy you have to do. So we have this amazing AI tool internally that helps keep track of your board meetings, your compliancy, state rules and regulations, because these amazing servant leaders are wearing multiple hats. So Light Raise streamlines the process. We help you fundraise with our white label fundraising portal. We can raise money faster, simple, and get the money to the cause, which is important for us. So we've been doing that. This would be our 2-year anniversary in October. So it has been a very exciting journey. So these are my two babies, my children that we're raising. They're gonna grow up and make us very happy as parents, and I'm excited to see what's coming next. We might have a third baby on the way as well.
Great. I can't wait. And we'll have you back on the show to talk about that
Yes.
one too. I'm excited. I'm really excited about that one too.
Yes.
Yeah. So today we're going to do kind of another round of like 20 questions with Marc Alexander. I don't know if it's exactly 20 questions, but when we did it before, it was so much fun. So we're going to do it again. And so the whole point of this is I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions that have to do with everything from starting a company to wrapping up a company, and so maybe selling it off to somebody else, and everything in between. And there's so much on that entrepreneurial journey. And because you're a twice over entrepreneur,
Yes.
And maybe even thrice over soon, you're the best person to ask these questions to.
Thank you.
Now, the very first question I'm going to ask you, it's a trick one, but is, what's the one question you ask yourself every day? Instead of me asking, but what's the one question you ask yourself every day as an entrepreneur?
Now that's deep. The big question I ask myself, am I walking in my purpose? And what's so important with that, entrepreneurs, there are three very important things to keep in mind: your talents, your task, and your assignment. What happens at times is I enjoy speaking. That's a talent of mine, but that necessarily isn't my assignment. And what happens is you can mix those up where a task becomes what you think is your purpose to do. If I was to just say my talent is my assignment, I would say I'm going to be the biggest motivational speaker, but God told me that I have to change the world by 2%. I have to positively impact 2% of the world population. That's 160 million people. Now what happens, so we move past the talents, you look at the task. From a task standpoint, I've been working at different companies over my journey as an entrepreneur. So in corporate America, while I was in college, And if I would have mistaken my talent doing great in that task, I'd have been stuck there. I would have still been in corporate America where he said, I'm calling you to do something bigger. So I took the talents, I learned from those tasks, and understood my assignment. And the thing that I ask myself every day when I say, am I walking in my purpose? I want to make sure with whatever I'm doing, I'm not mistaking the talent or the task for the assignment at hand. So it's a lot of self-examination, because even as an entrepreneur, there's going to be opportunities that do come up, and you have to make sure it aligns with what you're destined to do. Because when you're called to do something great that's bigger than yourself, the world can give you 1,000 distractions. That's why they say it's a straight and narrow path. It's a stairway to heaven, not a highway, a stairway. So I have to make sure I'm aligned, I'm focused, I'm on assignment with the purpose. So that's the question I ask myself every single day.
There's a lot to unpack there, because so many of us, myself included, think that task is our assignment. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be re-listening to this episode. That was really deep, and really, there's a lot there.
Thank you.
There's a whole book in that.
Yes.
There's another book. You have a lot of work to do, right? You have a lot of books to be writing, Marc Alexander. Okay, wow. That was a way to start off the 20 questions with Marc Alexander. All right, so the next question I have for you, how do entrepreneurs, or what suggestion can you give to entrepreneurs so that they stay innovative without chasing every new trend or every shiny object that's out there? What do they need to do to make sure they're staying on task? And it's really staying on the task and also on the assignment.
Absolutely.
You know,
so something simple that I've learned in my years as an entrepreneur, but not just entrepreneur, but a social leader, and it's nonprofit. With nonprofits, you have to write down 3 things: your vision, your mission, and your purpose. And I did not realize how important that was until I became an entrepreneur, because being in tech, there's so many cool new things that happen up. And what can happen at times is you look at this shiny object and it takes you off of it. But if you can go back to your very core, what's your vision, what's your purpose, and what's your mission, that keeps you solid from a core standpoint. Because you see a lot of times, even in corporate America, the big companies, they say, you know what, we're going back to our roots. They're going back to their roots because they realized they were chasing certain things that didn't add value to who they are at the core of the business. And that's what you have to remember. Now, we talked about this before, pivots. There are times where you have to adjust and change depending on the climate in the world, but never lose sight of your vision, your purpose, and your mission for your organization.
And a lot of people are kind of up in arms right now, not really knowing where to go because the roots aren't working anymore, where to go next. And that's going to bring up my next question. We are living in a world right now that it feels like full-on entropy and chaos. And what piece of advice could you give to entrepreneurs right now? And it's probably around mindset, or I'm not sure, that will help them keep their eye on that North Star. Like everybody's going through a lot right now with all the change that won't stop, it's accelerating, in fact.
I shared this in the past, and I share it publicly so everyone knows. My feedback, my insight, my wisdom comes from my faith. And I just want to share that because the story that I'm going to share that helps keep me going through the storm is the one of Peter when he walked on water. So think about this. He was just another human being that was able to walk on water. And what happened during this time, he was walking on water closer to Christ. And what happened was the boisterous waves, the big winds, they started to distract him and threw him off. And I'm going to pause because that's the storm. The storm is always coming about. And what happens is, and you said something, that North Star, once you take your eye off the goal and allow the storm to distract you, you lose sight. So even with Peter, he started to sink. And he yelled out, "Help me." And in response, he got, "Oh, ye of little faith." Now, why that is so important? Because Peter was with Christ. That was his guy. They was all together. And he's seen so many amazing miracles. He's seen so many storms, but he allowed this storm to distract him. Now, when we look at what's going on in modern day society, storms can be family, finances. There's so many storms that's coming to be that they would take you off of your path. And the thing I would tell my amazing entrepreneurs Sometimes the storm isn't sent to destroy you, but to clear a path. And what I realized for myself is when I was going through a storm, I'm like, what is going on? Everything seemed like it's falling apart. No, it is falling together. Sometimes we have to give it time to realize what are the results that's coming from the storm. So that was something I would share because I've had this my own stuff. I'm like, man, it is terrifying out here. But I realized that this storm, I should be protected in it. And I would tell that to all my entrepreneurs, all my friends, my close friends, everything, because we share stories. I will just add this caveat. There are 3 important people you need on this journey. Someone ahead of you, someone behind you, and someone in the trenches. So that way, those people in the trenches, you can understand when that storm is coming to clear the pathway, and you realize when everyone's going through that same exact storm that it's something different. This isn't a storm that's going to hurt us, but that's going to put us in a position to do great things. So that's why I would just share that story, to stay focused on that North Star, that vision, that purpose, that assignment, that goal, because the world can be scary, but we serve someone that's even more fearful if we believe in him. So that's my nugget for that question.
All right. That's a big nugget. There's a lot there. There's a lot there to unpack and a lot of good things, and and I liked what you said about the storm isn't always there to destroy us, it's to clear a path. And of course it doesn't look so great while we're all in it.
Oh, no.
Like, with the AI and the this and the that, and every morning, I read all my AI tech journals,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh my God, like this is
Absolutely.
only in the last 24 hours.
Absolutely.
It's astounding. It's amazing. We're absorbing so much every day, like what we're taking in terms of information and change. I thought it was a lot in 2020 in terms of information and change, and now it feels like it's double.
Yes.
And it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot for entrepreneurs.
I agree.
Mentorship. Let's talk about mentorship. Did you have mentors in your life from the entrepreneurial standpoint? We're going to unpack this in 2 levels, but
Yes.
Did you have mentors in your life as an entrepreneur, and what was the value for you?
Yes. So here's something interesting, because a lot of times when I share with people, my mentors, they expect to meet the person. And sometimes my mentors are in books. So a lot of the readings I've done, a lot of the insight. One mentor I'll share with people about, because we're building something big with our companies, was Noah. Think about when Noah built the ark. They thought he was crazy. It hasn't rained or stormed like that ever before. But guess what? When that storm and all that rain came, that was the best business that was built at that point in time. So I've learned, even because you hear so many times building unicorn companies, people might not see it when you're building the foundation of it. But when that storm does come, they say, wow. So even when we talked about just the AI that's taking place and even a lot of people that's losing their jobs, think about it. The small businesses are the backbone of the economy. Nonprofits are the backbone of the community. So these same people who are losing jobs are going to now rely on these nonprofits, the churches, the shelters, the grassroots organizations, the food pantries. And guess what? These nonprofits are going to need tools to make sure they can raise more money, they can stay efficient, because the work is going to get bigger for them. And that's why I said, wow, watching the story from other mentors, whether in the Bible or in books, you can see the journey, you can see the hardship, you can see the hurt, because I can be vulnerable enough to say as an entrepreneur, I have plenty of days where I've learned more that it's okay to embrace your emotion. Let it out. Don't hold back the tears. I get the tears out, and I see my mentors doing the same exact thing. But it allows you to reset, take that deep breath, and keep going on the assignment. So those are some of the mentors. And then even for the mentors I have that are just actual real life people I can talk to today, I make sure, and this is some wisdom from the Bible, of 1,000 have but one. Now, with that said, you need to have those mentors you can be vulnerable with, but it doesn't leave that conversation, because as entrepreneurs, we have to show up on stage and be well polished and well equipped. And they don't know, you might have just got on stage and had a very challenging moment, or as you get off stage, had this experience where you're driving home and you're just defeated, because we have to pour into people when we at times need people to pour into us. And having those mentors where you can have these conversations with, it allows you to see that you're not alone, that you're still aligned, and that everything is working out. And it reminds you that, hey, don't give up. Look how far you've come. take a look back at the journey and see how powerful you have become now. And that's the importance of mentors. They've either seen it, experienced it, but most importantly, can teach you through those moments.
Yeah, their wisdom is invaluable.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting when you talk about, let the emotion out. And it's super important just from a health standpoint to not keep things in. And like, you can cry your way to success. You need to get those out. In fact, it releases a lot of toxins when you do cry. So there are so many benefits.
I completely agree.
And the other thing is, one thing that we've seen like in business in the last 50 years, like, people used to never share things. Everybody was stoic about business. It was just always a front. But nowadays, people are sharing about, hey, I'm human. Like, I hurt, I cry, I, have problems. I, scream at somebody in traffic. People who are, big people at companies. It's showing ourselves as human, and that we are a full person running this, and not some fake, like, paper cutout. That's one thing we've seen, we've seen, like, people being more real and more authentic about it's not all great.
And people appreciate that because
you think there's something wrong with you. It's like, oh, you never cry? Wow, that's great. You never scream at your kids after a long day of like 18-hour day and everything going wrong, and you have to be your own tech person and do all the presentations. Like, you wonder, like, I'm not perfect. Is there something wrong with me?
And then think about that, too. I love the fact you mentioned that when people can see your authentic self, they relate more to you. And I think that's what have been a very important tool in building the relationships I had. They say, you know what? I see myself in him. I get it. He has his good days, his challenges days, but he keeps pushing forward. And it gives other people hope. But they have to see the authentic person. And that's why I share who I am publicly. Whatever I say in public, I say at home in private as well. So that way they can see this is who I am, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to live that way when you don't have, like, different personas that you got to. I mean, we all have personas, but, when you're like person A versus person B, I'm person A at home, and then I go to work and I'm a completely different person, that's rough.
Yes.
That's a rough way to be. Next question. This one's about marketing. What's one thing for yourself that's helped you be better at marketing? And then I want to ask you the same question. What's something that entrepreneurs could do?
Yes. So with marketing, and especially as a founder, I treat every podcast, every interview, every speech like I'm a all-star NBA player, because guess what they do? They watch the tapes. They look at the reels. They pay attention to the small, subtle things. They're always making improvements. So I will watch every single video, but not to be critical of myself, but to analyze what could I have done better. My hand gestures. If you notice when I'm doing certain speeches, if it's a very important point, I lean in, I slow down my voice. I also know to do voice modulation. And these came from just watching. And by critiquing myself, analyzing tools and ways I can improve upon, has helped me even more from a marketing standpoint, because for entrepreneurs, when you're starting out, you are the brand and you are the business. If you're raising money, at times, investors are investing in the founder and not the business itself. So who are you as a founder? Are you marketing yourself good? Are you someone they trust? So these are important tools for them. So watch the tapes, look at all your interviews, all your conversations, and then share with those mentors we talked about, those trusted people that say, okay, here's some feedback I'll give you. Anytime I do a pitch, I will send to a small group of people, here's a pitch I did that was recorded. What's your thoughts? And they would share the feedback, and I would take that feedback and say, okay, here's what I need to improve upon, because I'm a little bit more conservative now, but Mark, probably 10 years ago, in this interview, my hands would have been all over the place. I'm very excited, but I learned to be more reserved while still allowing the excitement to come through my smile, my laughter, and my conversation.
Interesting. Oh, that's great. So it's it's your personal brand and managing your brand.
Absolutely.
And advice to others is to do that similar thing. If you could give one piece of advice to others.
Yes, of course, the self-examination. Watch yourself, do your own reels and assess it. But even when you take that branding of yourself to your overall business, do the same thing. Look at your business from a customer lens. What do you see? Have a customer, someone else, one of your close mentors, look at your website. When we built our first website, we're tech guys. It was all tech jargon. We were like, this is beautiful. But when someone else looked at it, it's like, I don't understand what the API is, what this is. put it in layman's terms. So we realized that our marketing wasn't being well received to other folks. So we had to trust those mentors, those people to give us the feedback, and it definitely helped.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. This is great. These are great. I love these answers. I'm learning so much. I know that our viewers at home will be learning just as much. These are great answers. There's so many layers to this. People do need to rewatch this and really think deeply about this. There's lots of deepness here,
Amen.
Lots of layers. Here's an interesting one, and this has to do with pricing of products and services. We're in a really strange time right now economically in this world where, the inflation is crazy. We have software as a service companies like raising prices, and now seeing some very interesting things happening. I don't want to name big names right now. I'll tell you after, of dropping prices and trying to make lower priced tiers because people are leaving in droves, many SaaS companies right now that we use every day as entrepreneurs. Everybody knows the names.
Yep.
What's your advice to entrepreneurs, especially right now in this particular thing when it comes about pricing products and services? Because people have priced themselves out of the market.
I agree.
The bottom has fallen out, and now nobody can afford anything, and these companies are literally going to collapse.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
So of course, especially to our early stage entrepreneurs, something that's not always enjoyable to do is to build your pro forma, where you have all your finances, you're planning everything out. And the reason why this is important, we do very conservative numbers. Because what happens is when the money's coming in, you're excited, you're not planning for the future because in your mind it's going to keep coming. But if you're very conservative and you're price conscious of who you are now, again, make profit, make sure your margins are good, but don't make them so aggressive where you say, you know what, we can now hire 50 people because it's going to come a time where you might see a decline, or as we're seeing in the economy now, change in people's buying behaviors. So be conservative, but always keep reassessing. Don't get comfortable. That is, I have traveled so many states, but the worst state I've ever been in was a state of comfort. And the second I get comfortable, that's when things get crazy. So even from us that's been very conservative, we're always watching, okay, does our price work? And don't wait until the customer is about to leave to change prices. Look down the road. That's why that pro forma, that 5-year pro forma, you're looking at things, you're looking at trends. Always keep adjusting and improving, but make sure you're mindful of the ingredients that's going on in the world right now and how you need to change. Because if you can pivot before the customer leaves, guess what? You can retain them, and they will see that you value them in that beginning part. So pro forma, be conservative, and don't get comfortable.
And what's astounding is so many of the prices were increased at the end of 2024 at these SaaS companies, and now they're in deep trouble.
Yes.
They're in deep trouble. They're not going to be paid out their investors. I mean, everything is collapsing because people literally cannot pay those fees anymore.
I agree.
It's going to be some interesting times ahead for the digital economy.
Yes.
Here's one. This is kind of related. What's one good way to bounce back from failure in business? Because there's some things going on right now, and some people are having to walk away from their businesses. I know a number of people, I probably know a half dozen people just this year, friends of mine who have closed up their businesses, digital businesses, no brick and mortar. But what's a good way to bounce back from this? And you can talk about it from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint.
I'll do a little bit of both.
Okay.
One thing that I've learned is be transparent. Let everybody know what's going on so there's no aha moments or surprises, because you'll be amazed. I think a lot of times, and this ties into and blends in more so into the mental aspect as well, we're so worried and thinking what other people might think if something bad happens that we make the problem bigger than it actually is. Where instead, if you sit down and say, hey team, here's what's going on, they say, you know what? We understand and we get it. And it can make starting to plan out the next phase is even better. So even if you have to scale back, it puts you in a better position where the trust is there, you can move forward even faster. And then give yourself some time just to detach and get yourself back together. We talked about burnout before. You need to give yourself mental grace to get everything back together. Assess what happened, what the environment is like, and when's the next time to get into it. Because I can say with entrepreneurs, once you get the bug, it sticks with you, whether it's 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, or 5 decades later, it comes back and say, you know what, let's give it another run. But you have to give yourself that time, and don't look at it as a failure. If you made it that far, whether it's 5 months, 5 years, or 5 decades in business, that is a win in my opinion, because entrepreneurship is very challenging and unique. So give yourself grace, use it as a learning experience, and figure out ways you can now be more innovative, more lean going forward, and how you can now pay attention to the storm ahead. So that way when you see it down the road, you can say, all right, team, we're going to be a little bit more lean in what we're doing so we can weather the storm that's coming, because I've seen this storm before, because history repeats itself. As long as we start learning that history, it puts us in a better position to scale in the future.
All right. We're going to do 1 minute or less on each of the next couple.
Let's go.
This one is, what should someone stop doing if they want to grow faster? What's one thing they should stop doing to grow faster?
Stop getting in your way. Sometimes we are the biggest mountain keeping us from going forward. We talked about earlier, delegation, not bringing on the right people or bringing on the wrong people, and then making sure you're always learning, building your business acumen. So get out of your own way. Trust your team, trust your people, but trust the decisions and just make one.
All right. Next one. What's your take on building multiple streams of income for your company versus focusing just on one? So that means multiple
When those
services,
storms
products.
come, it would be comfortable to have it, because we see at times where one stream might dry up, so we have different tiers, but we also have additional services we do internally for light raise. So if we get to a point where clients aren't building up as we need, we have additional services we can lean on. So it gives you that comfort, but still make sure wherever that core is, don't take your eye off the ball, because if you take your eye off that core product and you focus on all these other 1,000 things, that base can dissipate at times for you. So keep an eye on the core, but make sure you have things that relate to the business and make sense and add value to bring in additional revenue.
All right. Well said. One more. What's one principle you think every entrepreneur should live by?
Ooh.
One principle you think every entrepreneur should live by?
The biggest principle, I would say, is integrity. Say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. And it's a lot easier, because I would say this growing up, being transparent, growing up very poor, I had a 800 credit score handshake, because if I told someone I was going to do it, I did it. So the thing I would just add with that, an honest no is better than a broken promise. Sometimes we overcommit to so many different things and we just don't have the time to get them done. And people are expecting you to show up if you're going to do it. So being honest and having that integrity, hey, I would love to take part in this, but I just don't have the time to do so. That is better than saying something that you can't follow through on because it hurts your brand and your reputation.
Excellent. Thank you so much for doing 20 or more questions with me today. It was fantastic. I really appreciate all your answers and all the wonderful wisdom that you've shared with entrepreneurs here today.
Thanks so much for this opportunity. I appreciate you, my friend.
I'm going to ask you one real quick question. Last one. What's your final piece of advice to entrepreneurs? One piece.
One piece, all work works, even if you don't think it's working. So whether it feels bad, it doesn't feel good, it's going to yield value at one point in time. Just trust the process. Sometimes God has to work on us before we can work on the businesses that He trusted us with.
All right, well said. Thank you so much, Marc Alexander.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at www.michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.